Kyle here from allmereviews.blogspot.com. So to do another Fates Warning video, I just talked about Parallels. That was it'd be their sixth album? I think it was their sixth album. Um, that was in 1991, and that was right when grunge was about to hit. They toured with Dream Theater, I know, at some point in there. Anyway, they followed that album up after Parallels. Parallels, of course, I just showed it. Wasn't it so their most overt attempt at commerciality, I guess you could say, which is a really well written, really melodic album, but it didn't probably succeed to the point where I'll learn more about this in the books. I'm not that nearly far in Jeff Wagner's book, of course, but I'm only the Spectre Within period right now still. But they followed up with 1994's Inside Out. This is that I showed this in a video years ago. This is the Inside Out Disconnected compilation, double released value. I had my original CD. I don't know where it is. It's in a different book. I know I had it on. I may have only had it on tape. I think I had it on. I'm pretty sure I had it on CD years ago. But I got the remaster right here, which came out in 2012. And vinyl at some point, maybe someday I'll get this one. I counted the other day, and I'm only missing 4 of their records on vinyl, believe it or not. But that's one of them. It's interesting. It comes with 2 books. But this CD, which came out at the release date, I had it pulled up right there, was July 26, 1994. So this was just from a perspective when it came out. There's the CD. It was after Images and Words, 93, but before, comparing the Life to Dream Theater. Before Awake came out, I'm not sure if it was before the 1994 year, which I think of for Brave, for Marillion. Was it Dogman from King's X that year? I can't remember. But Promised Land from Queensryche came out that year. Savage's Handful of Rain. This is the DVD, I think. And there's one other kind of sort of significant. Anyway, this came out in July, that summer of 1994. So it was right after I graduated high school. And I don't think I'd really listened to much of their music at that point, even though I had, because it was the year after that I got I've joined the news group and stuff, so still before my time. But this, in effect, would be considered like the album that was current when I got into them. So I don't know why I have 2 booklets in this. One's for the DVD. I don't know. This looks like the same thing twice. Yeah, maybe one of these is my original. I don't remember if I did that, but yeah, the green. I know the DVD. Actually, I remember bringing the DVD and listening to the audio at work once. So that must be where it is. It's in one of my DVD booklets. So I guess the first thing I'll say about this record is that I think of it probably most for the fact this is the final album of this lineup that started at Perfect Symmetry with Frank Aresti and the original bass player Joe DiBiase / Tobias. This is the final album for those 2 at that point. Now, Frank Aresti had worked with them later. He did work with them later, but I don't know if he ever officially became a member until maybe the last record. Although he played with John Arts. We'll get into that later, but so it kind of was the final record from that group. So a lot of people, like, I've seen some comments in the last few months, Fates Warning groups talking about the new book and stuff like that, and some other stuff. The new project A to Z is coming out, and Jim's project, Kings of Mercia. That this album was a lot like Parallels. It was like Parallels Part 2, trying to kind of follow up and do another record like Parallels. And honestly, I've really never felt like that at all. I felt like this album was a reaction to this album in a way, but this album to me is not. I mean, I guess in melodic sense, and sort of trying to write hooky, melodic, shorter songs, it was. But from a sound standpoint, this album is, I wouldn't say it's softer, but I remember one of the things that Jim talked about in that DVD and talking about the making of he was listening to like a lot of new age music. So I could hear that. There's a lot of, it's not that heavy, the majority of it isn't that heavy. Monument, which I think is probably still my go-to, that and Face the Fear. Those are my two favorite tracks. But Monument is really the only like sort of heavier, kind of Fates Warning like previous from the Perfect Symmetry, especially Perfect Symmetry and Parallels sounding track on here that resembles it for the most part. The other songs, well, they're good. They just sound like rock songs, I guess you could say, with new age influences. I know he did, of course, two solo albums, Jim Matheos. Away with Words later, and I forget the first one. I have the first one, First Impressions, and it totally reflects that. It's like post-rock almost, or I don't know. The other big thing about this album to me, now listening to it again today, I would say I maybe need to cool it to an extent on my feeling, but a lot of it is sounded a lot alike. Now you could say the same thing about Parallels to an extent. To an extent, I think the songs on Parallels are just so damn good it doesn't matter. These songs kind of blur to me at points. Now, of course, Pale Fire, I believe was a single, and Shelter Me. Pale Fire is awfully catchy, but I mean, outside looking in, Pale Fire, Shelter Me, Down to the Wire, even Face the Fear. Those 4 or 5 songs, some of the riffs in them, I couldn't distinguish them that much. I like Shelter Me a lot. I've always enjoyed that. It's a very catchy song. I mean, I guess maybe this is a reaction to grunge and alternative rock of the 90s or whatever. Maybe that was part of it. Because it sounds like some of the bass lines even, like Monument, which I love, sounds like a bass line from that band, Cake or whatever. One of those 90s like alternative bands, not Candlebox. I mean, it's still great, but it's just funny how you hear this is almost a product of the 90s, whereas I think Parallels sounds more a product of the late 80s. But I'll give it credit that in the sense that it is track after track after track where it does have sort of a good energy to it. It's just it has often blurred to me. Now the sort of ballady pieces, the instrumental Inward Bound and Afterglow and Island in the Stream, I like. I mean, I would put those in those in with Chasing Time and Road Goes On Forever, although they're definitely below in terms of my favorites or what I would rank in terms of those sort of that era's ballads. Throw some of the stuff from the Ivy Gates of Dreams in there. Those acoustic sort of dreamy ballads that Jim Matheos kind of became akin to. But they're all good, especially Island in the Stream. But Monument to me is like probably even that part where he's doing that like acoustic Latin section. It's just very catchy and energetic. I mean, at one point I probably felt like this record, I almost ranked at the bottom of their catalog. I'm not spoiling it too much, but I'm not so sure now. I'm not sure where it's gonna go exactly. After just kind of compare everything, but I'm sort of now kind of coming back a little bit on it. I mean, part of it is not so much this is a bad record, because I think it's actually a pretty damn good record, even though it's sort of the end of this era to an extent. But I think it just is a product of the quality and how much I love Fates Warning, that this record I have not listened to as much, and it doesn't have as much memorability, and I haven't just, that's why. But I mean, listening to it again today, it's like, well, I can understand why people love it. There's a lot of people that love it that hate other records that I love. I can follow that. So, I don't know if Terry Brown, it tells all the extras, the bonus DVD. They toured Dream Theater, I think it was 93, 94, because I have a bootleg, or maybe early 95. They were in Italy, it was Milano, but MTV Europe interviews in here. I'd like to just watch some of this stuff again. Oh, and the demos on this is Circles, which, Circles, I think, was that a demo where they changed from, I can't remember, was it Pale Fire or Face the Fear? Can't remember. I haven't listened to that. Circles was on that compilation, though, that came out, the Chasing Time thing. I remember that. It's like, what the hell is this? What song is it? I don't think I had this album. Maybe I did. I had to look it up. But, yeah, I mean, Inside Out, of course, I always think of Inside Out. But there's the song by Pain of Salvation, which only came a couple years later. Then there's the Inside Out label, which at one point, Fates Warning a few years back, I think it was for Theories of Flight, maybe? Or maybe Darkness in a Different Light and Theories was on. But of course, the Inside Out song by Pain of Salvation is one word, but is it 2 words, 1 word? The artwork is definitely just kind of. I mean, I'm not huge critical of albums based on their artwork, but the artwork is kind of not, kind of very limited, or what's the word? Not abstract would be one word to put it. But and I know the band. I mean, I'll get into it when I eventually read that book. It may take me 2 months, but read all the book. But I'm sure I know the band. They're definitely differing opinions on this album. Whereas I think a lot of the bands view favorably on Parallels and the album that came after it. So anyway, what's your take on Fates Warning's album Inside Out from 1994, summer '94? When did you hear it? Is it toward the top? Is it in the middle, the top of your list? I know people that love this album. Is it kind of at the bottom, or do you like it? What's your favorite song off of it? I'd be curious. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.